We've got Texas and Arkansas, a classic rivalry dating back to the late 1800s. But this one, we've got something new. It'll be the first as SEC foes. So here to help us break down one of the biggest games of the weekend, we've got Chip Brown from Horns 24/7 and Trey Biddy from Hogs Sports. And let's tell you a little bit more about this rivalry. I said it dated back over 100 years ago. This is the 80th meeting in this series, and Texas has won the last 7 of 9 in Fayetteville, and Arkansas, well, they're kind of riding a tough stretch right now. It's 5th game versus a ranked opponent in a 6-game span. And we're talking matchups here, starting with Texas offense versus the Arkansas defense. And the Hogs have not fared well against veteran quarterbacks as of late, and another one is on tap in Quinn Ewers. So, Chip, what does he need to do in order to win this game?
Well, he needs to be a whole lot better than the Hudson Card Casey Thompson tandem that went to Arkansas in 2021 and got manhandled. No, Quinn Ewers needs to continue doing what he did against Florida. That's the first time we saw Quinn Ewers look like Quinn Ewers, really since the Michigan game in Game 2. And he was on point, threw for 5 touchdowns, threw for over 300 yards for the first time this season. And he looked comfortable. He looked urgent. He looked like he was his old self. And against the 124th ranked pass defense, Quinn Ewers needs to be on point like that. He needs to continue to elevate his game. Honestly, he needs to be better than he was against Florida.
Well, one of the reasons that Arkansas ranks so low is because of what Ole Miss did to them with a veteran quarterback in Jackson Dart. Threw for well over 500 yards, set records. The quarterbacks combined for 7 touchdown passes against Arkansas's defense. Arkansas has really struggled against veteran quarterbacks this season. They've been fortunate to face a good number of redshirt freshmen and freshman quarterbacks, but Garrett Nussmeier gave them a lot of problems. And, of course, Jackson Dart gave them a lot of problems. And then Quinn Ewers, obviously, is a veteran quarterback, so would expect Arkansas to have problems. Now, something that they've done during the bye week is really audition the secondary. So they've really just kind of opened things up. And Sam Pittman didn't say what changes have been made, but he really did indicate that they have made several changes in the secondary. So because starters are not sulking, as he said. So a lot of changes there in the secondary for Arkansas, and we'll see if it pays off for them. But they've really struggled against veteran quarterbacks.
Speaking of quarterbacks, on the other side of things, Arkansas's offense versus Texas's defense, how can Taylon Green's dual threat ability maybe be a weapon against this Texas defense, Trey?
Well, if he's 100% healthy, which he's still not 100%, according to Sam Pittman earlier today, I asked him about Taylon's health, and he said that last week he wasn't 100% and still working on some things. So he went down with a knee injury a few weeks ago against Tennessee, and they had a bye week. He came back against LSU, wasn't 100%, wasn't mobile as he was before. But against Mississippi State, he seemed like he was fine. He ran for like 79 yards and a touchdown, had a really elusive play. Then against Ole Miss early in that game, he jammed his knee into the ground and had to come out. He didn't play the second half of that game. So that's really limited him. Arkansas, again, does well when they face teams that aren't great at getting to the quarterback. Like Tennessee, when Arkansas faced them, they were second to last in the SEC. Mississippi State's not good at getting to the quarterback. Texas is kind of middle of the pack. They're still very good, over 2 sacks a game. But teams that get to the quarterback gives Arkansas a lot of problems. And, so this is a better offensive line than Arkansas had last year. But to me, it's still a subpar offensive line.
Well, Texas, what they're going to bring to the field in this game defensively is speed, and they're loaded on the edge. You've got Trey Moore, the ballyhooed transfer from UTSA. He's finally making plays. But Anthony Hill, the middle, well, no longer the middle linebacker, but they move him around. He'll play the weak side. He'll play the strong side. He'll come off the edge. He typically is the quarterback spy. He's the one who spied Jalen Milroe at Alabama last year. The guy's an eraser. And so they may not get to the quarterback as often as Ole Miss and Texas A&M, some of these others, but they contain running quarterbacks. And the secondary has been lights out. It's the number 1 pass defense in college football. So the combination of the ability of this defense to turn people over. They've been averaging 3 turnovers per game through the last 4 games. And now the offense is starting to turn those turnovers into points, which they weren't doing against Georgia and against Vanderbilt. That's the recipe, the complementary football element and the speed led by Anthony Hill and that Texas defense.
Looking kind of big picture at this game, a lot of times when you look at a matchup where one team has a small little number next to it and the other team is unranked, it can seem like there's not a lot at stake for both of these teams, but I think you guys would disagree here because there's a lot on the line in this football game. So let's start with Chip. What would a win mean for Texas?
Well, thanks to the College Football Playoff Committee making Texas the number 3 team in its latest set of rankings and saying essentially Texas is the best team in the SEC and its likely champion, Texas needs to prove this committee right, and it starts in a potential ambush situation at Arkansas. These Texas players don't know how much this game means to the fan base at Arkansas. They will feel it at 11 a.m., but this is everything. I mean, Texas has to win out. They've got to win not only against Arkansas, Kentucky, and A&M. They got to win the SEC championship, and they're going to be probably the number 2 seed in the 12-team playoff field. So it's all right in front of Texas. No one cares that they haven't played or beaten a ranked opponent. They have played a ranked opponent. They got paddled by Georgia, but they haven't beaten a ranked opponent. Doesn't matter. The committee says they're the best team in the SEC. Now they got to go out and prove it.
Well, it'd mean for Arkansas $500,000 in fines because Arkansas fans would storm the field, and that's what the penalty is for this most recent field storming. But it would also be the opportunity to play spoiler, and that's not making to the college football playoff or anything like that. But for Arkansas fans, as Chip said, beating Texas and playing spoiler would be very gratifying for this fan base. It's not a night game like it was last time. It's an 11 o'clock game. But that last time was probably the most electric environment that I've ever experienced in Razorback Stadium. So it would be just pandemonium in the stadium. And then at the same time, it would also, for Sam Pittman, elevate his status, because what I hear is that 6-6, beating Louisiana Tech, basically getting to a bowl game, is going to keep his job secure. But there's also a lot of fans that are still disgruntled, don't think that's enough. So beating a team like Texas, or even Missouri later, but beating a team like Texas and getting to 7 wins, I think would satisfy a lot of people on several levels.
Yeah, the reason the fine would be $500,000 is because they have already stormed the field after upsetting a top 5 team at home. So, man, to do that twice in one season, that would be certainly exciting. Okay, guys, we simulated this game 20 times on EA College Football 25, and I got to be honest here. I saw the results. I had to double check with our producer. I had to look at the grid myself because I didn't believe it. It was a tie. 10-10 wins for each of these teams. So the video game has given Arkansas a chance here. Let's start with Trey. What's the biggest key to pulling out a win in the real football game?
Well, I think, first of all, you have to have a crazy environment. It is an 11 o'clock game. I'm not saying that's going to lead to an Arkansas win, but I don't think they can win without that, without the fan causing false starts and things like that. I always say penalties, turnovers, special teams, injuries, overcoming injuries are all big factors. But I especially think in this one, and something I mentioned with Garrett Nussmeier at LSU, as proficient as he was, he gave Arkansas 3 chances. He threw the ball to defensive backs 3 times, and they dropped the ball each time. And people always say stuff like, they didn't beat us, we beat ourselves. No, they beat you, but you made them pay for their mistakes. And Arkansas has to capitalize on opportunities like that. You go back to the 21 game, people remember that Arkansas won 40-21. They don't remember that Arkansas muffed a punt on Texas's first drive, and the Texas defensive back's toe was barely out of bounds. Otherwise, it's Texas ball deep in Arkansas territory. They don't remember a missed field goal. They don't remember an Arkansas field goal that ricocheted off the uprights and went through. Luck. Things like that has to happen. As Houston Nutt used to say, that ball don't bounce straight up and down, and Arkansas needs things like that to happen, especially early on, to build that momentum in front of the home crowd.
I love me some Houston Nutt, by the way. That guy,
Oh, yeah.
That guy was a thorn in Texas's side, I'll tell you that. But look, if you'd have said at the beginning of the year the Texas defense is going to carry this team, people would be like, wait, what? And that's what's happened. The Texas defense has been the most consistent, the best part of this football team, and the offense has got to pick it up. They did against Florida. They didn't against Georgia. They didn't against Vanderbilt. Too many penalties, too many turnovers. They cannot afford to make those kinds of mistakes because the Texas defense has been able to bail them out throughout the year, but You don't want to put them in that situation on the road. Quinn Ewers needs to play like the guy who's won 9 straight true road games, the guy who looked, super comfortable and quick-footed against Michigan on the road in a hostile environment. That's who needs to show up for Texas tomorrow, playing complementary football. And if they do that and Quinn Ewers is on point, it should be a Texas victory.
I know you guys know the history of this rivalry, but for anybody out there that hasn't seen it, I know this is new for the SEC, but these two teams have a long, storied history of some crazy football games. I know you both referenced the last time these two teams met, but this one, I have a feeling is going to be a lot of fun. So thank you both so much for the great breakdowns. You should check out Horns 24/7 for all things Texas football. The whole crew's got you covered there, and also Hog Sports for everything you need to know about Arkansas.